Matt, tell the story about the open letter to Chevron that Strive wrote, and then what happened after that letter was received.
Yeah, absolutely. So our first, so one of the things, just to back up a second about governance. So we believe governance is not just proxy voting, and I think that that's the initial take is, oh, you have a proxy vote, that's it. No, most change actually happens through the process of engagements, public engagements or private engagements, meeting with the company, management, asset manager management, the owners saying, hey, these are things that we think you can improve. You meet with the investor relations team. Sometimes you meet with the C-suite, depending on the organization. And that is where most change happens with corporations, whether it's Strive or whether it's BlackRock or CalPERS, it doesn't really matter. Engagements are a critical component of a real governance process. They cost money and they actually have major impact. So we sent our first engagement letter to Chevron. It was about Scope 3 emissions. We had a really positive conversation with the CEO, Mike Wirth. And then our second engagement, I think, where things got really interesting because Exxon was actually our second engagement. And this was one of the bigger wins that we've had to date as a company. So we engaged with Exxon second after Chevron, and it was a similar type of topic. And what had happened at Exxon, though, was slightly different. In 3 years ago, 2021, three climate activists were put on the board of Exxon. They were put up for a vote by a climate activist, ESG, very small shareholder in the company. Exxon tried to shut it down, was not able to shut it down. The large asset managers around the world supported it, and against Exxon's recommendation, put three climate activists that had no oil and gas experience on the board of the largest energy company in America. Crazy. How is this in the benefit of shareholders? I can't understand it. The only way it's in the benefit of shareholders is if you think that what's in the benefit of shareholders is to shut Exxon down. But anyways, so we engage with Exxon. We send them a letter that we don't think this makes sense. We don't think that those activists are adding value to Exxon. We think they're detracting value. We don't have the shares to remove them, but another way that you can actually mitigate the power of a couple board members that maybe aren't acting in their best interest is add additional board members that actually would act on the
Mhm.
best interest. So we send a letter to Exxon and say, hey, we're going to run a contest. We're going to put some people up to go on your board. November of 2022, when we did that. And then in December, Exxon actually proactively, right after our engagement, just put two new board members on the board without even having a vote. That met every single requirement that we were looking for of a successful board member. And so they just completely took the power out from under the cells of the climate activists. And I think Exxon has been at the forefront, in my view, of not only the fight by having to reduce their emissions beyond government regulations, having climate activists added on their board, but then fighting back, putting new board members on their board, and then most recently even suing to get a climate proposal off their ballot that had nothing to do with making money. So I do view Exxon. There's a few different companies that I think have in different ways been leaders of pushing for the shareholders first movement. Exxon is right up at the top of a company that I think is trying to do the right thing.